In terms of the fourth quarter, they had all but one of their buckets was inside the paint. Was that them just being able to get into the paint and get whatever they want because of that point of attack defense like you were talking about?
Yeah, they had that and 9 free throws.
There was no stopping the Indiana Fever. They simply destroyed the Dallas Wings and Paige Buers. They won their first Commissioner's Cup after dominating the Minnesota Lynx. Aja Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces were completely destroyed by them. 3 victories in a row. The pace was increasing. Even without Caitlin Clark, everyone thought they would have no trouble defeating the Los Angeles Sparks. The Sparks are among the WNBA's worst teams, hands down. However, what transpired next would make you furious. Stephanie White was only able to deliver 5 words that encapsulated the league's problems due to the referees' awful calls. Please share your thoughts about the WNBA referees in the comments section below.
Come on.
We should have won this game. There was inconsistencies in the officiating. Wait until you see the second half. And I have everything.
Although the Fever entered this game without their best player, no one anticipated what transpired. Due to a left groin injury, Caitlin Clark was unable to play. She was on the bench for the 5th consecutive game. Clark's ability to create plays is essential to the team's overall offensive flow. The Fever were a totally different team without her scoring threat and court vision.
Finding out this morning that we probably need to hold out again today. It really is a day-to-day thing. And I think for us, making sure that we're prioritizing her long-term health and wellness. Anybody who's had some of these types of injuries understand that sometimes it's a process. She's a quick healer and she's been doing everything that she can to get back on the floor. So, we just want to make sure that we're hypersensitive to the big picture.
That's not all, though. In the FIA America, Dyrus Dantas was competing on behalf of her nation. The Fever had to rearrange their rotations because of her absence. Another important player who provides size and experience off the bench was lost by the team. The stunning announcement that Dana Bonner had left the squad completely followed. In one crushing blow, 3 important pieces were lost. This is when things start to get interesting. The Fever were still strong favorites in spite of their injuries. They had a 72.9% chance of winning, according to ESPN's matchup predictor. They were favored by 6.5 points according to MGM. Everyone thought they would win this game with ease thanks to the remaining talent. The reasoning appeared simple. The Sparks are among the WNBA's worst teams, hands down. The entire season has been difficult for them. The Fever had just finished their amazing run of 3 straight victories. Basketball player Aaliyah Boston was playing at an incredible level. As a leader, Kelsey Mitchell was taking charge. During their dominant performances, the team's chemistry appeared to be strong.
Howard looking back door for Mitchell. Not there. Shot clock down to 7. McDonald feed inside, and it's Howard for 2. It's good record.
However, there was something simmering beneath the surface. Without Clark, the Fever's play had slowed significantly. The ball wasn't being moved by them with the same vigor. Boston lacked the touches necessary to control the paint like she is able to. When Clark was in charge, the attacking scheme that had been so effective began to fail. There were still several players of all-star caliber on the Fever. Most nights, the Sparks had to battle just to remain competitive. How could this game be lost by Indiana?
I don't get it. Breanna Stewart, Aja Wilson, wait until you see what they did for Kelsey Plum tonight. They get all the calls. Touch fouls, anything. And guess what happens? Aaliyah Boston, the best center in the game, and guess what happens to her? She gets called for every touch foul and ends up in foul trouble this entire season and is still putting up MVP type numbers. What happens with Caitlin Clark? Have you ever seen her get a touch foul? Phantom call? No. The physicality, that's the WNBA when it comes to Caitlin Clark. But anybody else, the physicality disappears. And it's foul after foul.
The standards were extremely high. Everyone believed that unadulterated talent would fill in the gaps. The Fever had demonstrated their ability to win important matches. They still had players competing at the championship level. With Indiana's remaining firepower, a team was expected to find the sparks easy prey. This ideal storm of missing components produced the specific disaster conditions. Clark's leadership was the foundation of the team bonding that appeared to be so strong throughout their winning streak. Cracks began to appear when she wasn't in charge of planning the offense. Suddenly, the role players who flourished in their designated roles had to take on more. With all of these disabilities dragging them down, the strain increased as the game started.
What does it take to get a team to be more consistent, especially from you on the coaching side of things?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple things. There's always got to be a high attention to knowing personnel. Oftentimes you don't get a lot of practice time, and so going over a lot of their sets, what you do. But at the end of the day, making sure we know our personnel, who we're going to run off the three-point line, what we're willing to give up. We've got to make sure that there's a high attention to detail there.
3 players resisted letting the Fever go without a fight, despite the team's struggles. All night long, Aaliyah Boston ruled the pain. In what she did, she finished with 23 points and 12 rebounds. Might have been a successful performance. Boston made 5 of 7 free throws and 9 of 17 field goals. She demonstrated to everyone why she is such a unique player by finally getting the ball when it counted most.
Here's Mitchell off the screen, but can't connect on the 3. Boston offensive rebound, rolls it in and a foul. The 2 bigs bring the ball up the floor, and Hamby wasn't ready for that.
How about that change of pace and burst like a guard, gets downhill to the rim.
In Clark's absence, Kelsey Mitchell significantly stepped up. When the squad sorely needed to score, she made 3 three-pointers and dropped 19 points. Mitchell also achieved a significant milestone by participating in her 251st game with the Fever. In the history of the series, only Tama Catchings has played more games. Throughout the entire game, Mitchell demonstrated her leadership by keeping the Fever competitive against a squad they ought to have comfortably defeated.
Lob inside. Boston too far underneath. Shot clock down to 5. Kick out Mitchell. Oh, yes!
That's not all, though. With her seasoned presence, Natasha Howard completely illuminated the scoreboard. She had a nearly perfect game, finishing with 21 points and 9 rebounds. Howard made an amazing 8 of 11 field goals, including one of 2 three-pointers. She contributed vital scoring on both ends of the court and made 4 of 6 free throws.
Busted them all up. We went to the same high school.
Howard left alone, answers with a 3.
3. The team as a whole was carried by these 3 guys. They were outperforming a championship team in terms of numbers, a group that was expected to disintegrate under duress. Like the all-star she is, Boston had complete control over the paint. Mitchell delivered crucial shots that prevented the Fever from spreading. Because of her expertise, Howard was able to create plays that younger players just cannot. Imagine this. Inside, Boston was in control. Mitchell was shooting from all directions. Hope was kept alive by Howard's season plays. The opportunity to make a comeback was present. The audience sensed it intensifying. Indiana was starting to gain ground.
LA is so dangerous. They don't look like a 5-win team to me.
Oh, and there's Tipson sending it back.
This is when things start to get interesting. The dreadfully bad officiating was overshadowing their particular genius. Call after call by the referees went against the Fever. No foul was called when Sophie Cunningham was grabbed by the neck. The referees gave out a jump ball instead.
This is what I was talking about with Sophie Cunningham. Look at this. She literally grabbed her around her neck, and they called this a jump ball, and then threw her down the next play.
Throughout the last few minutes, when the game was at stake, the contentious calls kept coming in. On the court, you could see the frustration growing. These athletes were putting their all into the game. Boston was performing at a very high level. Mitchell was making shots that were supposed to win the match. Howard was demonstrating her championship experience with her plays. However, the referees continued to make calls that hurt their prospects.
And then Aaliyah Boston, like I said, she didn't touch her. They put her in foul trouble all season long. They're just calling stuff to call stuff. The refs made this game about them. Aaliyah Boston, again, she's an all-star player. Look at these hits. Good thing Caitlin Clark didn't play because it was just a sloppy basketball game between the officials and the Los Angeles Sparks. Look at this. They called this a foul instead of a block. And then there's Aaliyah Boston again. That's 3 fouls where she didn't touch anybody. And that's our best player, and wonder why we lose this game. Michaela Timpson, watch these 2 calls in a row. She didn't do anything. She got hit on that one, and they called a foul on her.
The contentious calls that determined the outcome of the game overshadowed even their valiant attempts. The sadness was obvious on every player's face as they watched a winnable game slip away because of factors absolutely outside their control.
And this is 4th quarter. Look at this. This one pissed me off. Kelsey Plum seriously elbows Lexi Hall, then purposely steps over so she couldn't get up. Lexi Hall can't believe it. That's a foul. The ref was right there in front of her. And then here we go. And they kept McDonald in foul trouble the entire game. There's 2 in a row where she didn't do anything. Look at that. Just had her arms in the air, but they gave, this is the 4th quarter. And they just kept giving every single call. I like Leah Boston finally getting pissed off. Then they call this away from the ball in the 4th quarter. Nothing going on. Just to put him at the line. And then Kelsey Plum, another one. But when Howard drives and gets slashed across the face, no foul, just out of bounds.
Stephanie White eventually responded after witnessing her team's devastating defeat despite their valiant efforts. The press conference after the game was tense. White's face was filled with frustration, which was evident. She had just seen her players give it their all. Boston was in control of the interior. Mitchell made a clutch hit shots. Despite Howard's season plays, it was insufficient. The journalists awaited her answer. White is renowned for his professionalism and composure. She always picks her words carefully, but this time it wasn't the same. This loss was more devastating than usual. One of the WNBA's weakest teams has just defeated the Fever. They were expected to win this match with ease.
In terms of the 4th quarter, they had all but one of their buckets was inside the paint. Was that them just being able to get into the paint and get whatever they want because of that point of attack defense like you were talking about?
Yeah, they had that and 9 free throws.
This is when things start to get interesting. White used simply 5 strong phrases to convey her response. The calls did not reach us. That was it. 5 words that captured the essence of what transpired in those last few minutes. The annoyance was evident. The disappointment was evident. White had seen her team denied a victory they were due. Let's discuss the particular calls that made all the difference. Sophie Cunningham's neck was grasped. Rather than calling a foul, the referees called a jump ball. Basketball isn't like that. That is showing preference for the Sparks. The Sparks were able to get away with playing much more physically, but Aaliyah Boston continued getting called for touch fouls. Everyone seeing could see the double standard.
I mean, look, there are going to be days where you make shots and miss shots. I mean, that's part of it. I thought, AB had a really good look at the end. And so sometimes it just doesn't fall your way. So we're looking more about execution. I didn't feel like our execution was all that good at the end. I felt like in our reset timeout, it wasn't very good either. And, that's on us, continuing to make sure that we are going over that, as often as possible when we have our practice time, and making sure that we're sharp in those areas.
White's words encapsulated the rage and despair felt by every Fever supporter. She spoke for all of the spectators of that match. At their televisions, fans were yelling. They witnessed the same terrible calls that determined the result. White expressed their frustration in 5 terms. She stated what everyone was considering. This instance relates to the Fever's larger struggle against inequitable odds. Their finest player is absent. They are coping with roster changes and injuries. They now also need to overcome poor officiating. For this team, the difficulties keep getting worse. This is the truly remarkable section. In fact, this defeat demonstrates the Fever's extraordinary skill and promise. Despite everything going against them, they came very close to defeating the Sparks. Boston's performance was all-star. Mitchell assumed a leadership role. Veteran presence was brought by Howard. There is a unique purpose for the parts. When Clark returns and the team recovers, this devastating loss serves as motivation for future triumph. Everyone was reminded by White's 5 words that this group will not tolerate unfair treatment. Through hardship, they are developing championship character.
Here is Boston on a handoff to Cunningham. Head full of steam to the rim, and a foul. Cunningham and 1.
I mean, this is just a really good screen by Boston to give her a step. The switch. Sophie's having a good time.
This heartbreaking defeat only serves to highlight the Fever's extraordinary capacity for championship success. Consider what has just transpired. The Fever nearly defeated a squad they ought to have annihilated while missing 3 important players. It's not a sign of weakness. That demonstrates unadulterated strength in the face of hardship. This is when things start to get interesting. For 40 minutes, the Fever remained competitive even though missing Clark, Dantas, and Bonner should have been a death sentence for any WNBA club. Clark's comeback is quickly approaching. She has been sitting and taking part in drills while playing on the bench. Although Clark's long-term health is Coach White's top priority, she might make a comeback as early as Wednesday against the Golden State Valkyries. Imagine this lineup upon her return. The offensive is being led by Clark. Boston is controlling the paint. Mitchell is the clutch scorer. Hall provides defense and vigor. Howard is bringing in a veteran. That right there is a championship roster.
Cunningham, Coulson, give and go, and Coulson hits a 3.
That's called a boomerang pass.
That's not all, though. Through the most trying conditions, this youthful core has been put to the test. Boston has demonstrated her ability to lead a squad when necessary. Without Clark on the court, Mitchell has demonstrated that she is capable of becoming a leader. She has scored 21.6 points on average during the 5 games that Clark was out from. These athletes aren't simply getting by without their star. They are developing into contributors of championship caliber. Let's discuss this team's outlook for 2025. They are currently developing experience and chemistry that will be extremely beneficial in the upcoming season. Each difficult setback teaches them something new. Their confidence grows with each close game. Each accomplishment demonstrates their personal development. Mitchell's 3-point shooting total is 600. Howard's 2,000 rebounds mark. Boston is becoming a reliable player of the all-star caliber.
Percent comes up with the block. Coulson launch ahead. Oh, a la Caitlin Clark.
They have opportunities to demonstrate their strength in the upcoming schedule. Matches versus New York, Connecticut, Dallas, Atlanta, and Golden State. These are the tests that form championship teams. This battle-tested gang will be prepared to rule when Clark gets back. This is the truly remarkable section. Be wary of teams that defeat the Fever while they are down. This season, the Sparks received them twice. Their roster changes and injuries were exploited by other teams. However, this team will remember every slight, poor decision, difficult defeat, and team that let them down when they were feeling low. The championship is being built via this hardship personality. The annoyance is making you hungry. They are developing the mental toughness necessary to survive postseason battles when everything is on the line thanks to the adversity. This devastating defeat actually demonstrates the Fever's potential for a title when healthy. Remain devoted to this group. It won't be long before Clark returns. The Fever might yet get a top 4 slot and are predicted to be a playoff contender. Adversity has put this youthful core to the test. Imagine this tour of retaliation once everyone is well. This season, the Sparks defeated them twice. Their injuries were exploited by other teams. However, this team will remember every slight, every poor decision, and every team who kicked them while they were down when Clark gets back. Tell us what you think of the WNBA referees in the comments section below. To ensure that you never miss anything, like, subscribe, and enable all notifications. We'll see you in the next video. Click the video on the screen.